Welcome to another session on Johnson Controls CCT, an introduction. My name is Frank Witmer with Variety Precision, and today's topic is state tables. The FX controllers are all state-based controllers. They are state-based controls. Basically what that means is that the control is based on predefined states or modes within an application. And its state machines look at a specific input and control several output control modules. And we'll go through that in CCT once we get through a few of these slides. The state generation modules calculate a state that's prioritized by the state table. And the state tables, you set the priority based on how they're listed. Topmost is the highest priority, and it goes down from there. And it defines the appropriate mode of operation that will then go to each output control module. The center area of the CCT screen, the column state generation, is a group of modules. And these modules determine the current mode of the application. And when you're in the simulation or the commissioning mode, it will give you two extra lines of data to give you either the key output present data, or I'm sorry, the present value, or the present state associated with each of these modules. And if we look at the relationships of the state tables, and the screenshot here, the bottom half, we're selecting the state table tab. So it's listing these state tables. And at the top part in the application area, the center portion is the state generation modules. And then to the right of that is the output control modules. So on the state table itself, you'll see that the rows of the state tables are actually then the output or the state of the state generation modules listed up here. And the outputs, the columns of the state table, represent the output control modules that are associated with them over here to the right of the state generation modules. So you'll see the rows. If we look, we got the boiler sequencing here with 4 different modes, 4 different states, and then each of those states will determine what the modes are for each of the output control modules for your application. And when setting up state tables, you'll see that for each row's state, a mode must be assigned for each of the output control modules in each of the columns. What I've done here was the primary pump 2 mode. I clicked on it with the left button click, and it gives you the choices of the modes available for that output control module. The asterisk means do nothing, skip, move to the next one, or in Niagara terms, null, if you want to call it that. So basically what would happen is if it's a null, you move to the next line and then go from there. So in the example here, you'll see like PID tuning reset. When it's in a mode of false, it doesn't affect any of the output control modules. If it were set to true, same thing, it's not doing anything at this point. If we look at the hot water system enable, false. So in other words, if the hot water system is not enabled, the boiler 1 control mode is off, boiler 2 control mode is off, and the same with the pump modes. Then if it is true, system's enabled, the asterisk means you can move on to the next row. So we would look at the boiler sequencing, and this is boiler sequencing by outside air temperature. If this is off, then the control's off. If the state of this boiler sequencing is set for pump only, then the pumps will be under control, but not the boilers. System interlock, you can see the commands there, and if it's set for control, the state's control, then the mode for these 4 output control modules would be control. The screenshot we have here is shown in the simulate mode, but it could be the commission mode as well. And what's nice about doing it in this view when you're either live with a controller or in simulation, the states that are in play for each of these state generation modules, the green is showing you what the actual state is for the module. So in this case here, PID tuning is set for false, hot water system enable is false, and boiler sequencing is also set for false. And on the output control module columns, where they show green is where the table is setting the mode for each of those modules. So in this case here, we came down, we were asterisk, moved it down, and we say, okay, hot water system is false, so all these are set for off. Just as an example to show how you would see it when you're in simulator commission. Next, what we'll do is bring up CCT, and we can look at an actual application. Okay, I have CCT 13 opened up, and I have a VAV application shown here. And you'll see we've got many state generation modules, and we also have many output control modules. And if we take a look at our state tables, and we go into that section, we'll see here that we have quite a few here, and each one of the state generation modules up here are represented on here as well. And we can see that if we get down to where we're into the system mode, if the system mode is cool only, then the box heating control would be off. If we are in the auto mode, we'll see that there's an asterisk, so it can move down. So we would move to the warm-up cool-down sequencing, and we can see what the states are for that module, and then the corresponding commands on the other side. So you see everything is pre-populated. This was built directly from the Select System wizard. So then basically when we're running, again, you're taking the output of your state generation modules. They become our rows of the state table, which then determine what we're doing on the control. We could go in and edit if we wanted to. I'm going to maximize the view. If we go to edit on the state table, it gives us the ability, let's say we, for whatever reason, when we are in, I don't know, any of these modes, we can change something, but we've got a command here. We're going to maximum based on a box being in primary heating, box heating, and supplemental heating. We could actually, if you click, left click, you could change it to something else. So, you know, we may, I don't know, go to min. You could go to min if you want. We'll leave it at max because that's what it was set for originally. But it gives you the ability to change what these modes are based on the states of the state generation modules in your table here. So you could add to this, and then, as I mentioned, it's all based on the priority is based on the order of these. So if we wanted to change it, you have up and down arrows here that allow you to go up and down in priorities on the tables here. I want to hit cancel. I don't want to save that. And we could go back to the other view, and we're back to where we were. And one last part we can look at real quick is if we go to connections. We've talked about connections in the past, where when you go there, whichever module you're focused on, that becomes the main part of your connections, and you see what the inputs and outputs are. If you want to look and see what your connections are for your state tables, we would just come over and click on Show State Selector, and then here's each of the rows of the state tables, and these would be the columns on the output side. So these again are represented by the output control, and the inputs here are the state generation modules up top here. So you can see what is going, what they're coming from. So you know your input here is actually each of these state generation modules as inputs to your state table. If we go into a simulate mode, I'll let it go ahead and save. When we run the simulation, what we're going to do is we're going to see the state table live, and we can go in and command some points so we can see how it manipulates the table and setting the modes up for our output control. Once we get fired up here, it just takes a few seconds for it to go under control in the simulation mode. Okay, so now we're in that mode. Now we have our colors on the screen showing where we are. We go to our state table. We can see, again, each of the system or the state generation modules, and what the green shows is the current state for each one. So then if what we want to do is on the right side, I usually like to just scroll to where I see what where the green lines come across. So in this case here, we can ignore everything above the green line, and we know that our proportional box heating control mode is off based on the occupied zone sequencing module. And since it's off, that's the command going, and that's what the proportional box heating control module will use. If we go back in here and I go and say, okay, let's override our space temperature. Let's command our space temperature to a high value. So we'll go to like 78. And we'll go ahead and send that. And you'll see now the different modules in different areas are updating. That's what the blue is signifying. So now if we go back into our state table, let's see what's changed. Now that we've told it that it's hot, or well above set point, you'll see we went from satisfied for the occupied zoning sequencing, and now that state for that module is changed to primary cooling. So now if we go across, our proportional heating box control mode is off because it wants to cool. The supply damper control mode is now under control. And it was previously as well, so it's controlling for airflow. And the supply flow set point control, its mode is control as well, so it will use its logic based on that mode. So if we were to go to that spot, like if we went to supply flow set point control, we'll just take a quick peek. That's this block here, or this module here, and we'll see that it's set for control, and the state going to it is primary cooling. So it's saying, hey, we are doing primary cooling at this point. We could turn around, go to view logic. We'll expand this up, and we'll see that the mode, again, was control. So you'll see that the command coming in is control, and then we're coming over here to this block, and the mode for control is control. And what you'll find on these blocks, each one of these lines, or some people refer to them as swim lanes, are separate wire sheets for each mode. So if we click on control, there's our wire sheet for control. And we'll see there's our PID. And if we go through, we can see everything that's going on there. We can zoom in and see where we are. And then if we wanted to go back and see what these other modes are, if we were to go to a max mode, there's our logic for the max mode: hold, min, heating, warm up. If we go back again, green is signifying that's the current mode that we're in, and this is the wire sheet being used. Because basically what the state table is doing for us, a big part of it is, I'm used to with other systems, on the PID, you're going to have fan status or some kind of an enable to disable the integral and derivative portion. And the way that works in here with the state control, state-based control, is as long as the mode is control, PID is in operation. If you go out of that mode, it actually gets turned off, so you don't get wind up of the integral control of the PID. And we can go back and look at our control again. And so that's basically a quick overview of state tables. Further on, we'll discuss actually creating state tables from scratch. That'll be a future video. We'll do a separate video as well on going in and looking at the finite state Explorer, the FSM Explorer tool, which is a really nice tool for understanding your logic and how it operates and how you bounce between states on the control modules. And that is it for now. I do thank you for your time, and we appreciate you and your business. Goodbye.